Hello, everyone, and welcome to Think, Talk, Train. I'm going to jump straight in today. I do try and keep this on time. There'll probably be a few extra people coming in, but this is recorded, and you can get the recording sent to you after the session today. For anyone who has not been able to join yet, my name is Tara Elzingre, and I'm hosting these Tech Control Room workshops, webinars once a week at the moment. They're 30 minutes. They're free to join. You can join all the rest of them. I actually have put up a link now that means you can just add this to the entire series to your calendar if you want, and at least that way then you always get the replay as well. So you can find that on Eventbrite as well. So the Think Talk Train method is something that I actually came up with myself. So if you don't know who I am, I'm an AI strategist and digital tool trainer. I offer training for small business owners and SMEs, entrepreneurs who are looking to, I suppose, adopt AI into their strategy. And I try to make that as simplistic as possible. And the Think, Talk, Train method is something that I developed specifically for small business owners to start looking at how you can bring this into your business. I did create an app here today. I'm going to have to send you on the link there now as well. So there is a QR code here, and I will send you on the link afterwards as well to check out that Think Talk Train app. But this was created, I don't know if anyone saw it over the weekend. Lovable.dev actually had a free weekend where you were able to play around and test out different ways to create apps. And I was able to create that in under an hour to help people to prompt using the Think Talk Train method that I've developed. Now, for anyone who was maybe here last week as well, we looked a little at how to kind of prompt engineering, how to prompt efficiently, no matter what platform you're on. And this is kind of another version of this, but it is more specific for small business owners and more about your thinking, more about what it is that you're putting into the prompt itself and the back work that comes into it. And I suppose the thinking that goes into it for yourself as well. So if you scan that QR code, you will get access to that app and you can use it along here. But as I said, I will be sending it on afterwards as well for you to test it out. And it's more a bit of a guideline so that you come out with a really clear way on how to maybe think like a CEO, how to talk to AI like an intern, how you could potentially train it going forward then as well, and really develop a relationship with that AI as that intern in your business, and maybe just thinking a little bit differently about how we're interacting with AI, especially LLMs and generative AI, so that we're getting the most out of it as well, and we're getting what it is that we're specifically looking for and not just generic robotic sounding outputs all the time. So again, the first step naturally is the CEO mindset. And it is something that potentially people often forget about when we're talking with artificial intelligence, because we are, I guess, always thinking of that word intelligence in reality. And we kind of forget a bit about how, or maybe don't understand a little bit about how AI in itself understands. So when we're thinking about the CEO mindset, what I'm really looking at helping you to understand is what it is that you know yourself, what assumptions you may be making, what self-reflection you might need to do with regards to your own business, and what blocks might you have or missing gaps of information may you have that you are expecting AI to potentially fill in. So again, because artificial intelligence has this ability to give us access to the World Wide Web in very short form, a TLDR version of it, we kind of forget as well the fact that it's taking all of that context and it's basically saying, oh, it's not this one, oh, it is this one. But it's giving us those answers based on our prompts. It's amplifying what we ourselves are putting into it. So if we have gaps in our knowledge, if we don't understand ourselves, what it is that we're trying to talk about with AI, then we may not be getting the output that we desire. So when we're considering that CEO mindset, this is where we really want to start looking at the goals that we are setting. What goal is it? What is it that you're trying to do? What is it you're setting out to do with AI? To give an example of this, you're looking to increase your newsletter conversions by 20% in 6 weeks. It's a very specific goal. Are you translating that goal then to the artificial intelligence, just like you would if you had an intern starting in your job? I don't know if anyone has ever seen Working Moms, but there's a scene in it where they start with this new client and they get books upon books of guidelines for starting in that business because their marketing is so very, very specific. There's so many guidelines for it. And think about the guidelines that you would have if you had somebody starting new in your business as well. How would you want them to reach that goal of increasing the newsletter by 20%? You would be very specific at it. You would be looking at the different ways you're potentially storing that information. Do you have it on ClickUp? Do you have it in MailChimp? Where is it? And how are you then translating that to the artificial intelligence? So if you have noticed that there's been a drop in your open rates, for instance, and you are looking at all the unsubscribes, maybe you're trying to ask the artificial intelligence what is that? But you need it to be done in the same tone, you need the content to be the same, and it needs to be transparent as well. You need to have all of these involved in creating that newsletter. So you've already got the goal, you want to increase your conversion with it. You need to give it context now. How are we going to convert it? We're going to get clearer on it. We're going to target more specifically what it is our audience are looking for. We're going to look at these 3 examples of newsletters in the past where people's open rates were potentially higher, and feeding all of that then into the newsletter. So sharing the business direction. So we're shifting from generic tips to tactical AI advice for small business owners. This list has evolved. Our messaging needs to reflect that. So, what is it that you feel has been the problem? Have you identified the problem yourself, and where do you feel like it's going to need to be shifted? AI in itself is not going to know that answer for you. Even if you feed all the data for it, it still needs that human insight. It needs you as the CEO to spot that difference. And I'd love to know in the messages in the chat as well, have you found this when you're working with AI that it really doesn't understand it? I know there's somebody here who's actually reached out to me about that, about how artificial intelligence sometimes doesn't understand what it is they're saying. And what have you felt has been the problem with that? And then defining the boundaries. It's something, again, that I feel we get misconstrued with quite often. And again, if we had an intern working there, we wouldn't tell them to just use any language. We would tell them to use very specific language. You potentially wouldn't use words like game changing or scale effortlessly. You would use more specific examples. But when we're using artificial intelligence, we're seeing, especially all these templates coming on it with very generic language, very vague and ambiguous language with it. So how are you being specific about all of this as well? Are you able to add that clarity and able to add that boundaries? So before you even look at prompting with AI, I encourage you to look at your own CEO mindset. Have you your own business plan? Have you maybe a 1-page template that you can share with the LLM when you're creating something? And again, even if you had a branding guide, do you have your hex codes in that branding guide? Do you have your fonts, your tone, your style, any particular language that you like, and examples that you can share with it to onboard it properly? So thinking like a CEO, where are you storing that information? How are you feeding it to it again and again, and looking at developing that relationship up as if it was a new intern starting in it and you were onboarding them. And again, if you're new here today as well, welcome. If you have any questions, feel free to put them into the chat and I will answer them at the end. And I'd love to get to know a little bit about yourself. Please feel free to add some information about who you are as well into the chat as well. Now, I don't know if anyone here has ever seen Abbott and Costello's Who's on First, but it's one of the first examples I always think about when, again, we're talking about gaining some clarity when talking to AI and not using that ambiguous language. If you haven't watched it, go check it out on YouTube. If you just type in Who's on First, Abbott and Costello, or even Who's on First, it possibly will show up. And it's just a really iconic scene. I think it's about 5 or 6 minutes long, the full video of it. But essentially they're on the stage and, they're talking about the ball game and who is on first. the name of the person is who, and they're really not getting it. There's a really funny exchange between them, and it continues on and on and on. And I'm sure, again, like that, you've potentially had conversations like that with artificial intelligence where you've potentially written out half an essay into the prompt and you've fed all the details and you feel like you've given so much information about it, and then it gives you a prompt back to you and it's like, that's not what I want. Like, why is it that it did not understand what it is that I want? So you try again, and so on and so forth, and maybe it gets a little bit more right, or maybe it had it better at the start, and as you continue on it gets worse and worse and worse. Well, this could potentially happen because, again, of the language that we're using, the inconsistency, or maybe the jargon that we're not understanding again. And if you think about the way that artificial intelligence works, again, it's looking for patterns. It's looking for those patterns in what it is that you're saying, in the natural language you're saying. And if you've never used artificial intelligence before, if you've never even really talked to a chatbot, or a ChatGPT, do try it out. It does understand natural language. It can converse with you, and it's getting better and better every day with it. It's not to scare you off and say, oh, it needs to be this big complicated thing. But you do need to remember that when you're talking to it, it may not understand the words that you're saying. And if it doesn't understand the words you're saying, that's fine, but don't take offense to it. Change the words up or give it more examples, give it some better understanding about what it is. And I would always relate this back again to parenthood and teaching your kids simple words, where you might have to explain it a few different times for them to get, oh, okay, daddy is that person. I know how to say dada. I know they respond when they say when I say dada, but now I understand that that word is actually associated with that person. And it takes time. And it's the same with artificial intelligence. It would be the same if you had an intern starting with you for the first time. There would be some business jargon that you would use that would be very company specific. And even if you have done the training, I did retail for 15 years. Every store I went into had a slightly different way of greeting the customers, of thanking the customers. Every time I went into a new business, I needed to learn that. So even though artificial intelligence has access to billions of data points, we still need to help it understand in the context, to give a clear understanding, to set the tone, to set the style, and explain what output it is that we are looking for. We don't want to leave room for confusion. We want to be specific about it, because if it understands, if it doesn't understand what it is you're talking about, if you were to say something ambiguous like, write a good email for my newsletter, make it fun but professional, I want better results this time, maybe mention AI or something, it's not going to understand what it is you're talking about. Even if it has a memory bank filled with information about you, it still does not have enough context. We need to talk about what is the goal again? What is the context here? And sharing that, sharing potential examples. What is the business direction we're going in with this newsletter? Is it going to be something that's going to be a weekly insight into the business itself? Are we helping to understand what is coming up? What result is it that we're looking for with that newsletter, so that we can feed that information into it? Is there a particular business term that you use, like think, talk, train? It would be a method that I have created myself, but it's not potentially going to exist in ChatGPT's database. It's fairly new. It's not going to be there just yet. I need to explain that to it, and potentially explain it a second or third time, and give it a one sentence to kind of go with, hey, you have this in your memory already. Just you can now drag that information from your memory, but it's not going to be on the database, but it's existing in the history of me talking to you, in the history of this business. So again, setting that clear outcome, what it is you're looking for. And like anytime that we are looking for it, who is the audience, who's actually going to be potentially looking at, if it's a generative AI, is it an image, is it a newsletter? Who is the audience, so that the AI in itself knows who it's speaking to? Do you want to create a cartoon? Are you creating a video? Is it more professional sounding? Is it more friendly sounding? Is there potentially a big figure online that you're looking to emulate. So is there somebody maybe like Stephen Bartlett or a Mr. Beast or Simon Harris that you're looking to get their tone of voice, and you think that that is something that could potentially be an example of the style that you're looking for? Could you feed some information like that, say, hey, I want it in Stephen Bartlett's style of writing emails or writing newsletters? Um, AI is going to understand relevant context when you explain that relevant context, but it understands patterns right now. It does not have access to your belief systems, to the nuance that makes your business. You really need to be able to explain that to it, and really understand the difference between the words. And again, like that now, my husband is Swiss. We have very different cultures, and we often would have similar words that we need to explain if we mean it in a slightly different context. If you are, maybe coming over from America for the first time, maybe you haven't heard things like "what's the crack," and you would have to explain that "what's the crack" means bit of fun here in Ireland. So what is it that you're explaining to them, and are you giving them the context behind that meaning? It is getting better every day. It is understanding these patterns and recognizing the nuances that you are using. And if you start to actually talk to it clearly, and if you start to develop this style clearly, if you start thinking about like a CEO and start talking to it like a CEO as an intern, it's going to start building up that relationship with you, that you're going to start seeing that you will be able to talk to AI better, and you will get better outputs right from the beginning. But the first draft, second draft, third draft may not work for you. You may need to consider how long you need to spend to actually get some of these things right and test and tweak. Now, again, I just want to point out we do have an offer at the moment. I have two fabulous workshops coming up, and these are 3-hour workshops. They are more full, intense ones. The first one that is coming up is the strategy systems and AI foundations. This is coming up on the 27th of June, which is very close. Cannot believe it's next Friday already. And it's on a 2-for-1 offer for the first two workshops. I'm really, really excited about them. They're going to be filled with so much more information and in-depth, and they're going to walk you through the different systems. So for the AI Foundations strategy and systems, we're going to be looking at how you can build a system within your business, whether it's for lead gen, whether it's for content creation. What is it that you're looking at, gaining an understanding about what AI can and can't do in your business and building it out from there. If you have any questions about it, please do reach out and let me know. They are available on Eventbrite, and you can scan the QR code there again. But please do ask any questions if you do have anything to ask about it. Now, the final part of this, and then I'm going to be showing you a slide about how the app works in itself as well. But this is basically how you bring all of this together then as well. And just a reminder that AI is just a tool, but you are the artist in itself, okay? And I absolutely love this quote. I think it's so, so brilliant. Prompt like a poet, think like a philosopher, engineer like an artist. And I think it really does complement well with the think, talk, train methodology with this as well. We want to use really, really flowery language. We want to use language that when we're talking to AI, that is not just create, generate, make an impact. AI doesn't understand what that is. You really do need to paint a picture when you're talking to AI. And this is where the thinking like a CEO and talk to an intern is coming into play. If you're talking to an intern, you should be feeding it lots and lots of information about what that intern is meant to be doing in your job. And you feed it all of that information as somebody who is running that business and someone who wants to make sure that they're going to do their job to the best of their capacity. So in time, don't have to check their work all the time. In time, you can actually pass over that work, and you can be very comfortable with the fact that they're going to create what it is you're looking to create. You're building that foundation now with AI. You're building that foundation. You're building how you talk and how you manage AI today with these steps that you're taking today in your business. Even being here today means, in a year's time, how can can you imagine how it would be that when you're talking to AI, that you'll be able to just say something very simple and it will get what it is you mean because you've had all these further conversations. And again, AI is continuing to improve. We're looking at agentic AI potentially being here at the end of this year. There's a lot coming down the lines, which means it's continuing to change. So by taking in and taking a few moments each day to bring these practices in, you could actually start building up that relationship with talking to AI, using LLMs. I'm not trying to use one specific. I know ChatGPT is the one that I tend to default to because it tends to be the one that the majority of my clients at least use. But AI is everywhere as well. We see it now on our WhatsApp. We see it every time we open up Instagram and Meta, and it's starting to feed into all of the different apps that we have on our phones. So it is important that we just understand how this works, and we understand our relationship with it as well. So it's not just about one perfect prompt. It's about building out those systems again. And anywhere that you would be building out a system, you need to create a checklist for yourself for the standards that you are trying to create. Again, if you were thinking about at the end of the week, and if you were kind of saying week 1 down with this intern, how did they do? You would have a checklist to basically say, okay, they got the newsletter done, they defined that goal, and they spoke specifically to the audience. They went with our tone and our style, and you know what, they didn't really do a call to action. So maybe that's something that we need to work on next time, and start giving it examples about how it could potentially do that next time. Give it examples of past emails that you've potentially used, or is there an email that you particularly like that you've gotten that you could potentially copy and paste and say, I really like this style, I really like this tone. Next time, for this email, this is how I want to adapt it. And maybe nailing those conversions, like how you can ask it questions about how to nail that conversions. It's not to say that it doesn't have those answers. It can have those answers, but it's not going to feed you the answers you're looking for unless you're very specific about what it is you're looking for. Do they understand that you're looking for general conversion rates? The same way that you would go to Google potentially beforehand and say, like, okay, well, like what is the average conversion rate for emails? But what's maybe a bit more specific, are you looking for something conversion rates in your industry? AI learns best when you show your working. So if you ever remember when you were in school and you had to do maths or art as well, you always had to show your work. So show your thinking. Don't be afraid to kind of show it what you're thinking about it. It's like, okay, well, I'm not really a marketer. I love business, but I'm really not into marketing. I really need support and help with that. Like, what's basics? What are the basic, that I need to know about marketing my business online? And asking ChatGPT that is a fantastic start. But how can you be more specific about that? How can you ask it to measure your results? How can you make it more accurate and more realistic for you? So not being afraid to ask those questions as well. But if you don't have the examples, potentially asking it for the examples and seeking out those examples, talking to other people about it as well, so that you can throw that into the mix as well. It does actually help with those examples, and as well, it gives so much context to ChatGPT or any other LLM that you're using for, if you're looking at generative AI and building it out with that. You giving it examples can help it to, again, see the pattern that you're looking for. It can see the rhythm, it can see the repetition. So you can copy and paste documents, you can copy and paste videos and photos, etc., into it, and that's a really easy way for it to understand this is the specific one I'm looking for. I have 10,000 data points that say the word example, but this is the version of example she means. It's not just about outputting words, it's trying to mirror your intention. So you understanding what your intention is, it's going to end up amplifying that. So if you're putting in a very generic intention or a very generic prompt, it's going to amplify that prompt, and it's going to amplify it in a very generic way. It's not going to be able to give you something specific afterwards. So what format are you looking for it in? Have you put it into a format? Is it a format that potentially needs to be changed? Have you a LinkedIn post that you want to convert into an Instagram post? Have you told it that you want to change it so that it understands it needs to change that example a little bit more? And again, if you're an artist, you understand that different tools, different frameworks are needed potentially for different formats as well. So have you potentially given it those extra tools that might need for that format as well in order for it to answer that question for you? And giving it feedback then is absolutely brilliant as well, and it can save this to memory. So if you say things like, "Oh, that tone is off," I really want you to speak a bit more Irish colloquial. I don't. It sounds too American for my audience. Like they know it's not going to be me. Like, can you speak more, casual Irish colloquial, or a bit more English sounding from London sounding, whatever it is specifically you want to say. It fuels decent AI into your AI. If it turns it into speaking and talking a bit like you. And there is another one coming up where we're talking a bit further about how to AI make it sound more like you. But this is a really good example of that, and it's giving it feedback and telling it what it is and it isn't working. It's just, again, AI is is a tool, it's not your savior. If you don't train it with examples, standards, and feedback and clarity, it will default to internet soup. It's just going to be another version of what the best of Google has to offer and spray that out to you. So when you start to think like a CEO, if you start feeding it things like your business guide, if you start feeding it things like your brand guide, and examples of potential customer interactions you've had, newsletters, images, whatever it is that you are looking to create, and feed it like that, and take that lovely, lovely phrase away, prompt like a poet, think like a philosopher, engineer like an artist, you're going to start getting much more powerful outputs from AI. Thank you so much for being here today. Again, I'm just going to very quickly show you, if you didn't have a chance to look at the Think Talk prompt app, but this is what the interface looks like again. It very quickly, as I said, created in an hour over the weekend as a way to potentially help you to just maybe start thinking a little bit about the different things that you might want to fill in here. So we have the task, the platform, audience, tone, style, what platform you're building it on. Again, you can add in files if you want. Can you give a bit more detail? So this second page is based on the answers that you give on the first page. You can fill in some details there about what it is that you're looking for. Again, things that you may want to avoid, and it will come up and create a prompt that you can edit it as well. And then if there are any other final instructions with this, you can add it into the final instructions here, and you can tell it what its next steps are, and it's going to create a prompt for you that you can plug straight in. You can copy and paste it from the app into any other LLM that you're looking for then. And I'll be looking to build out that library and to fix it up a bit better. So I would really appreciate your feedback on that as well. If you do get a chance to check it out, please let me know. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Has anyone any questions about any of that? Let me check the chat there. So my favorite example was when I asked it to find case studies for me around accessibility, and it suggested the accessible pub. I can't see that word for some reason. In Manchester as a leading example. I didn't give the context, so it made it up. Yes, and that's exactly it. So if not giving it the context sometimes really kind of shows it can basically try to fill in the gaps. It's going to start hallucinating so that it answers it for you. It's almost like an enthusiastic yes man that doesn't like to tell you that it doesn't know the answer to what it is you're saying. We've all got that know-it-all friend who really doesn't want to tell you that they actually don't really understand what it is you're saying. So they give you what they think you're looking for, and then you kind of say what, and then it's like, oh, okay, well, actually this. So does it make sense to use just one AI system or more than one? For example, use both ChatGPT and Copilot. Now, I'm guessing your question here is about the memory bank, yeah, and you've just popped that in there as well. And I would say, like, what I would actually recommend you do more than anything else is, basically keep, a one-page Word document that you potentially share and update, and then you can actually add that in to ChatGPT or into Copilot or whatever system you use going forward as your business evolves. And you can put this in any time that you want. So you can just copy and paste it if you need something specific, or you can save it into your the back memory of either Copilot or ChatGPT, and you'll start to build it up. What I guess when it comes to the think, talk, train method, what I'm really hoping will happen with this is that you'll kind of start understanding that even though it is natural language, there is a system that you need to use to speak with any artificial intelligence right now, and that's going to lessen over time. If you're using both Copilot and ChatGPT regularly, both of them will take maybe potentially a little bit more time, but if you enjoy using both tools, continue using both tools depending on what function it is you're using for either. I hope that makes sense. But if it doesn't, please do reach out to me. I'm happy to answer any questions offline about that as well. Thanks. I'm glad that helped. Has anyone any other further questions or comments about this? Okay, well, brilliant, everyone. Thank you all so much for coming here today. I do try to keep these on time, so it's always fantastic when that happens. If you have any other information, you have my details there that you can reach out to me for. And as I said, the recording will be sent to you as well. Thank you so much for being here today. Thanks, Yasmina, for coming. And yeah, until next week, I will see you soon. Take care.